Happy New Year, brothers. I'm only saying that because I don't think I have any women actually listening to the show. But if I'm wrong, please correct me, ladies. So here we are, man. We made it. It's 2021. They're not selling Soylent Green yet. Mad Max isn't out there. The jet cars from the Jetsons isn't happening. The zombie apocalypse didn't happen yet. And you and I are still here. In spite of 2020, in spite of all disappointment, in spite of all the death, in spite of all the stuff that's happened, take a few moments and just say thank you. Be grateful for life. Be thankful for being able to ride a motorcycle, to have the sense to be on two wheels when everybody else doesn't enjoy the same stuff that we do. There's some blessings, even if you don't believe in a higher power, that you should be grateful for. And now that the political correctness is out the way, Baruch Hashem and praise God for life. Yeah. What's that word? L'chaim, my friends, to life. Almost said MFs, but you know what I'm saying. Welcome to Indian Motorcycle Radio, and I'm your host, Reverend Kenn Blanchard. This is the show about Indian motorcycles and the people that ride and love them. All right, the big holiday seasons have come and gone, and it's snowing in crazy places, and it's cold, and it's wet, and it's rainy, and the rest. But you know what's good? You and me, we're still kicking. I'm just checking in with you because it has been a while since you heard my crazy voice, and I missed you. I want to thank a couple of you for contacting me offline because I've been offline. How you doing? Did you get anything good for Christmas? How about for Hanukkah? How about for solstice? Whatever you celebrate. Doggone crazy world we live in. Hey guys, here's 7 things that I want you to check out and take care of during this cold season. Be mindful of your diet. That extra corona weight is no joke. It will hurt you in the long run, hurt your back. And if you're having back troubles, try some stretching. You don't have to be into yoga or anything, but stretching will make you a better rider, will make you better fit. And stuff just kind of gets stiffer as you get older. I'm just telling you. Pay attention to your family during this winter so that when time it gets warm, they'll leave you alone because you did all the stuff you could have done in the winter months. They'll share you if you don't, forget about them. Prepare for the power outages. There's like a real high percentage that will have some power outages. So prepare both for your chargers, for your bike, for your house. Make sure you take care of that. If you're going outside, dress in layers. This is just some common sense tips for us older brothers. Dressing in layers. I'm not one of those guys that wears their shorts all year round. But you don't want to be catching nothing these days. I'm telling you, there's some funky diseases floating around. And I want you here when the riding season starts. Wear some good shoes. You don't have to wear your riding boots. But slipping and falling, not a cool thing. And finally, your diet. Be mindful. It's really easy to pack on them COVID pounds, and you don't want that. And one way to do that, get rid of those fatness pounds, those, extra weight, was my final thing. I know it was 7 of them. I couldn't read my own writing here. It's the move. Do some moving. Walk, run, lift. Don't get all stiff. Just winter. I need you. You got me? So your diet, be mindful of that. Wear some good shoes when you're outside. Dress in layers. Move more. Take care of the power outages. Prepare for it. Spend some time with your family and stretch. Those are the 7 tips for us older brothers. So we are here by the time riding season starts. Hey, this week I want you to think back into who was that person who got you into riding. Were you blessed enough to have a family member, a father, uncle, brother that rode and then kind of watered that seed? Who inspired me? This is a topic that Scott sent me a nice note that I want to just share with you because it makes really good sense. Even though you can't ride, what we're doing tonight, today, whatever generic time it is that you're listening to this, we are sharing the passion. Speaking of that, I want to give a quick shout out to Curtis Sawyer of Indian Rider Radio. That dude is crushing it on so many levels with the podcast. Also for Indian motorcycles. Shout out to Curtis. Check him out over at Indian Rider Radio. Well, Scott says, as for who watered the seed that has grown into a California redwood, he says it is Uncle Bill. Uncle Bill, to him, was larger than life. He would pick me up by the ankle and hang me there until my face turned apple red. He was a typical Harley rider with a long beard and a loud ride to match. I remember the smile on his face when you'd see him take off, pull in, or ride by. I bought my first bike when I was 17. Scott says it was a Kawasaki GPZ 550. Sorry about that. And eventually moved to a Honda Shadow 500 and then a Honda VFR 700 Interceptor. He had that Top Gun bug. And when he got out of the Marines, hoorah, he brought a 750 Honda Shadow that grew out of that Honda VTX 1300S. When he saw his first Indian Bomber, he knew that was the bike for him. He bought his current 2018 Indian Vintage in January of 2019, and he hasn't looked back. He says he and his wife ride every day that they can. His uncle passed away before he bought his Indian, but to this day, he always thanks Bill, Uncle Bill, for helping that seed to sprout. Riding, he says, is my out. It's my way to get away. I know that's right. And when I come home after a bad day, my wife will say, go for a ride. I'll see you when you get back. Anyway, want to get credit to where credit is due. And Scott says, keep up the good work. I'll keep listening. And he added a picture that I'm actually going to use for this week's show of his VTX out to Wyoming and one of Willow, the Indian. Yeah, that dude, that's just nice right there. How many of you got stories? Who was that guy or lady that inspired you? I had 3 for the most part. The first was my dad, who I didn't know was my dad at first. He was just this nice, cool, hippie-like dude. Used to come by in this green metal flake chopper. I later found out it was a Honda 750, all tricked out. And he would ride down to my grandmother's, give me money for school, check on me, and then cruise away. Cloud of dust and a Hardy high-hole silver. And I thought he was the coolest guy in the world. And then later, I had a neighbor that moved into our house next door who was just as radical as my dad. And he had a Triumph 650, I believe it was, all kitted out with the coffin gas tank. And it was the late 70s, and he was like a 60s child. So he was as hippie as you could get, man. He had changed his name to Kashaka, and Kashaka was my man. Kashaka was like my idol. He was against the man. He was always doing something. He was ahead of his time. And when I took my permit to get my license, Kashaka was the one that went with me. He was like my surrogate brother. He and my stepfather were at odds on everything. They didn't believe it was 2 trains of thought. One was old school, and the other one was progress. One was work till you die. The other one was work smarter, not harder. And I remember later, I forgot what bike he got next. But that dude was just too cool for school. Even though I only had a Honda 350 when I was 16, I still thought I was ahead of the curve. I got that bike before I had a car. And riding in the wintertime was a little tough. but it made you feel so good. You know what I'm saying? And now we're talking about Indian motorcycles. Yeah, it's been a heck of a ride, a great journey. Some of the coolest people I've met have been motorcyclists. We kind of have a different take on things. Even the crazy people. I remember one time I went to a concert because I love the blues. And B.B. King and Johnny Winter are playing at this giant outdoor pavilion we have here in Northern Virginia. So I had a Suzuki Cavalcade full dresser back then. And I rode this thing to the concert. And when I got there, it must have been 20,000 Harleys. I mean, every local biker gang, the real outlaw people, they were there. And when I cruised into this parking lot, because the motorcycle parking was closer than the cars, I got a little worried as I saw no rice burners. And when I finally got to this one spot, it was right near like a hill that went down this embankment. And then there was like trees and woods down there. I thought, now it would not be unreal of a thought for somebody to get all liquored up and roll my bike off this cliff and dare me to fight them back, since it was, again, wall-to-wall Harley Davidsons and bikers. But as if everything that I was thinking was on my face, there was a biker right next to me when I pulled in. And he looked at me and he says, "What's up, brother?" And I thought, here it goes. I'm about to fight before I even get in here. And I stopped, put the kickstand down, took my helmet off, looked the dude in his face, and he's like, "You here to see Johnny and BB?" And I said, "Yes, sir. I'm here to rock out with the best of the blues." And he was like, "That's what's up right there. Don't worry about your bike. Nobody's going to touch it while you're here." I'm like, okay. And he just nodded, and I trusted it, and my bike was there when I got back. You know, in my lifetime, I have been hit with racism. I have been hit with a whole bunch of stuff in my life. But it has never come from the people who are supposed to be at you, you know? I had to check myself more often than not of my own biases and prejudices with people, especially how they look. Like I later learned that a lot of the folks who ride hogs are not outlaw bikers. They just like to look like them. And we got the pagans and a couple of other real groups here in Maryland. But even when I lived near them, I just learned who they were. And it wasn't until I was a cop that I learned a whole real big deal about motorcycle bikers and the one percenters and stuff. But people are still people. Don't know why I went on that tangent right there, but the third person who got me convinced that biking was the way to go was another cousin. Didn't see him that often, but when he got his bike, he was also somebody I looked up to. And the three of them, my dad, my neighbor, and his cousin from my stepfather's family, they all were different. I knew I was different too. Is that why you ride? Because you're not like everybody else? Yeah. We are a little different in a good way. No matter what you ride, whether it be rice burner, American iron, whether you put it together with the Band-Aids and baling wire, whether you race, ride a crotch rocket, whatever, bike is a little bit different. And I'm glad about it. You get it. Now that I'm an older geezer, trying to live even better than before. Had quite a few folks test positive for prostate cancer. Some folks got some high blood pressure issues. Another old cat I know had a stroke, which blew my mind. Another friend, two of them actually, got colon cancer. And all of us seem to have back trouble every once in a while. But between those 5 things, make sure you check yourself out too, brothers. Sometimes having a wife can keep you around because they will bug you more than I just did in this episode. But I want to just put it to your mind again, because sometimes the life you save can be your own. So who was that guy? Who was that person who inspired you to ride? And then once you found out that they did ride, how did it change you? I would love to hear your story. And we can talk about it next week. You can call me, leave a message. You can email me and say, I got a story for you, Ken. And then I will just schedule a time that we can talk. Because, while this weather is all funky, we're still here. And we want to hear your story, no matter how long it is or how short it is. Has anybody seen that new Indian 1200S? That bike looks kind of like a Mad Max bike. I mean, it's kind of cool. Like, you might want to actually use it on the track. Anybody, I think it's the FTR 1200 it's called technically. Anybody test rode that blicky? It's, it looks like a dirt bike kind of, but it has like a really cool look to it. Looks kind of hard, like you could probably trash it just a little bit. It's a little bit under $1,600, $16,000 rather, according to the price. I'm just curious if anybody here has checked it out, has tried it. There's a couple of runs where you can ride like on a beach or do some dirt kind of stuff, kind of like a Indian enduro bike maybe, or adventure bike. That's a better word for it. Have you checked it out? I'm just wondering. I'm wondering if it's if the orange is worth the squeeze. It's the FTR 1200. It's kind of a sharp looking bike. Has nice LED lighting. Has like an exposed frame. Gives it like a different kind of look. Engine stuff's all blacked out. Has a big old radiator in the front of it. The ride command display is still there. It's even touchscreen. Yeah. Just wondering if you have seen it. Don't think I'm going to be doing any adventure riding, even though there's some folks that do that stuff, like that company called Moto Vermont LLC. You ever heard of them? Yeah, Moto Vermont LLC, or motovermont.com is the website. I'm still on their list. They send me some cool stuff every once in a while. They have like these 3-day trips where they ride to pretty cool places and camp out and stuff. They have like 3-night lodging, breakfast and dinner. They have guides that go through stuff. They teach you how to ride in crazy places, kind of off the grid kind of stuff. And this bike seems like it'll be pretty tight to do it. Like they had a trip in September of last year, somewhere in a place called Baldwin Creek. And wish I could get that guy on. Maybe I'll talk about that too someday. If I find out that somebody or one of you are interested in doing one of these things, then we can tie it all together. If you got a good ride or something cool that you have done before, I would love to hear it. That's how you grow, you got to like share your crap. You can't keep it to yourself. It's kind of like evangelism. Don't keep the good stuff to yourself. Well, I guess that's going to be it for this week. There's another one of those super short episodes, and I wish I had more to say, but I don't want to just be blabbing and not give you any value. The value here is that I care about your big behind, and I'm glad you're still listening and you're still a part of this family. Feel free to use our Facebook page ad nauseum. I mean, you post whatever you want on anything. Keep it alive. And I actually put a bug in the ear of another podcaster that maybe I could combine with him. I don't know. We'll see what happens. In 2021. Again, thanks for being here. Hey, I haven't said this in a while, but I still have a handful of Indian Motorcycle Radio decals for your helmet, for your bike, for your laptop, for wherever you want to stick these bad boys. And I got two different types. One's kind of a die-cast decal, and other one's kind of a vinyl thing. Hey, and they're yours. Just got to ask. Send me an email or call, and I'll send it. Give me the address, and I'll send it right back to you for free. It's a love thing, you know. You listen to me ramble and talk crazy stuff and try to encourage people. So just want to spread the love, you know. Hey, do you like this show? Here's a way you can help. Visit buymeacoffee.com/motorcycles. Help me make this a listener-supported podcast dedicated to good people like you. Buy Me a Coffee is a way you can encourage and help me continue to bring you Indian Motorcycle Radio. buymeacoffee.com/motorcycles. The link is in the show notes. Thanks. All right, my friends, that's it for this week. I want to thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to your favorite righteous podcast, Indian Motorcycle Radio. Now may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon you. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Kickstands up. Let's ride.